Hello, folks. Today we are going to be discussing Anapanasati, or inhale, exhale, remembrance. That's how I will refer to it. It's often translated as mindfulness with in or out breathing. So I think we should get started with the context, but before I even start with that, remember while you're watching this video, you can return back home to your breath. You can become aware that you're taking an in-breath or an out-breath, and you can also just put in a light amount of effort so that the breath is nice and relaxing. Okay, so you can have a nice relaxing breath with that. So there you go. That's mindfulness with in or out breathing, or inhale, exhale, remembrance right there. So let's start though with the context of why do we practice Anapanasati? Well, it's actually to recognize the end of dissatisfaction here and now. So the teachings of the Buddha come back to this core aspect. It's very profound. It's also very simple, which is dukkha nirodha. So dukkha is dissatisfaction, and then dukkha nirodha is the end of that dissatisfaction. And so this kind of gives rise to sukha, so satisfaction. And so it all comes back to this. And so there are the Four Noble Truths, which is there is dukkha. The second is that there is a cause of dukkha. The third is that there's an end of dukkha. And the fourth is the way out of dukkha. And one of these skills on that way out of dukkha, because it's the Noble Eightfold Path, is actually sati. So it's this skill to remember to wake up and see what's happening here and now. Let's get to another one of the skills, though, that is very imperative here to come back to, which is the Noble Right View, or viewing. So this is not a viewpoint, but rather an ongoing looking and investigation into dukkha nirodha. Is this leading to dukkha, or is this leading to dukkha nirodha? Is this leading to dissatisfaction or to satisfaction? And so that's within context of the Four Noble Truths, right? Now, if we go back to the Four Noble Truths for a second there, one of the reasons that we're dissatisfied is because we want things unwisely. So the practice of Anapanasati is to remember to take that look, to see, hey, is the mind being obstructed by ignorant desire, right? And then another aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path is the right noble effort. So to abandon, to give up that unwise desire when we see it. And it can also be, we say unwise desire, that can also go in the opposite direction. There's something around that you want to get rid of, right? So it's an aversion. So we notice these mental irritants, and then we put in the right effort to change, to make a wholesome change. So if we're working in the realms of thoughts, we will change from an unwholesome thought to a wholesome thought. And one of the really helpful ones that I find is to work with a spotter kind of thought or phrase, like, aha, I see you. Or congratulations, right? I see that. I can throw that out now. When we see that, when we work with that, we recognize that it's not I, it's not me, it's not mine. And so we can really easily just drop it. And so that's a really powerful practice. And I would say that we want to start with that. We want to start with the nurture and the congratulations. So you can practice inhale, exhale, remembrance anytime you remember. However, it is a good idea to get into seclusion for 5 or 10 minutes. You don't have to sit cross-legged on the floor, but find a comfortable position and just spend that time cultivating and developing wholesome thoughts. One wholesome thought after another. Now, what are wholesome thoughts anyway? They're thoughts that are, not pointing towards greed or ill will or cruelty. So they're thoughts that are, hey, I can be happy right here, right now, without whatever that thing is that we want, right? And so we can say, we can be happy without that right now. We don't need that right now. And so playing with those kinds of thoughts can be really helpful. And so we can work that in. So part of the practice is that directing of the mind. And this is actually step 9, or item 9 and 10 of Anapanasati, of becoming aware of the mind and also gladdening the mind, right? Now, the gladdening of the mind goes a little bit more as we continue to think these thoughts, one wholesome thought after another. The actual underlying attitude changes from that of somebody who's kind of being tossed about by the world to a real winner, to somebody who's on top of it. And so for somebody who sees that, hey, this actually works. But again, we have to remember, in order to actually implement this is why we develop that skill of sati, or remembrance, or mindfulness. We remember to wake up, to take that look again and again. So on the inhale, we become aware, okay, we're inhaling. And on the exhale, we become aware, okay, we're exhaling, right? And we know too, as we're inhaling, exhaling, if it's a long breath, or if it's a short breath on the inhale and exhalation, right? So that's two items on there to play with, right? So just become aware, is this an inhale or exhale, and is this long or is this short? And then another item too, so we're talking about the body here, and we're talking about the 4 foundations of mindfulness, because the 4 foundations of mindfulness are downright wholesome, because they're here and now, they're present, and so we direct the mind to these 4 foundations. And one of them is the body, which is the earth element. So that's kind of a helpful way to remember. So there's 4 items in each one of these. There's 16 items in totals, but it's broken down into sets of 4. And the body here is one of them. And so we become aware of the length and also the quality of the breath, if it's an inhale or exhalation. And then we become aware of the whole body, and then we also relax the body. So those step 3 and step 4, or items 3 and 4 of Anapanasati. So it's good to work with the becoming aware of and relaxing the body, and coming back to the breath. Work with that in tandem with the mind. So 9 and 10, items 9 and 10, becoming aware of the mind and gladdening the mind, as well as unifying the mind. We're bringing the mind together, one wholesome thought after another. We do this, so we work on the body and the mind, then we work with the feelings, because the feelings will come up much more easily if we're breathing well and we're nice and relaxed, and our mind is thinking one wholesome thought after another. If you're just starting out with this, don't try to put too much of a gap in your thoughts. Just put in one wholesome thought after another. And if you see the mind go to an unwholesome place, okay, cool. Look at that. Recognize that you've spotted that the mind went to an unwholesome place, and congratulate yourself for it. Be like, aha, I see you. Have that attitude of a winner whenever you spot an unwholesome thought, because that's going to be what really helps in the long run. It's helped me, because it changes our attitude from, oh no, I can't practice this meditation because it's too difficult, to, oh, I can actually really practice Anapanasati. I can practice inhale, exhale, remembrance, because every single time the mind wanders, eventually I'm going to catch it, and we congratulate for it, and we return back to the breath. So we're kind to the little monkey mind or squirrel mind. Squirrel minds kind of works well in North America because we have more squirrels than we do monkeys. But the monkey mind, rather than beating it up, no, we're nice and we're kind to the monkey, right? So we're nice and kind to the little squirrel in our mind that's running all over the place. And we say, okay, you know what? You ran away for a bit, but now we've caught you. We see that. You can sit down and rest for a moment. Congratulations, right? Rather than being like, oh no, this is a terrible squirrel, then I need to catch this squirrel and I need to beat it up, right? So that's not very wholesome. And that's what we can do with ourselves in practicing in seclusion. So it's a good idea to be nurturing and kind and gentle, and that's what we're working with this. So we work with the mind and we work with the body, and then the feelings start to come up. And so there's 2 emotions, I could say, that we really do cultivate with this, which is one, that feeling or emotion of joy. So like a joyful success. This is a real winner's kind of thing with the piti. So that feeling, it's referred to as in Pali as the piti. So we cultivate that by becoming aware of the breath, and again changing the mind to what's wholesome, and by abandoning the unwholesome, abandoning unwise desire. Because if there's no unwise desire, if there's no thirsting, if there's no aversion, if there's no sloth and torpor, if none of the 5 hindrances are present, then we can we're going to be satisfied, right? So we come back to that secure satisfaction, that easy satisfaction that is available here and now. And again, reminding you again, you can take a breath right now. You can come back to just inhaling and being like, yeah, you know what, this is enough right now, I don't need anything else. And exhaling can be just like, oh, it's so nice to just be able to relax right now, to just be satisfied right now, right? And so we work with these three things, these three elements of these three frames of reference or things to remember, I would say three foundations of remembrance. Now I'm going to add the fourth, and this is change. This is anicca. So the last bit is all about anicca in the Anapanasati Sutta. It's all about change. And I'm just going to keep it at change nice and simple right now. So we become aware of change. And that's actually what we're doing when we're changing from unwholesome thoughts to wholesome thoughts. When we're directing the mind away from the unwholesome into the wholesome, that's what we're doing. We're actually doing a change right now there. But we can also just notice the change that is happening, within the world, within our body, within the sensations, within the breath, within the sounds around us, with if our eyes are open, the colors and what we see, right? We can really start to notice how transient everything is and how nothing is like this secure, stable thing, right? So what is secure and stable? Actually abandoning all these things and just coming back and being able to chill right here, right now with nothing at all, right? That's what's nice and secure and stable, right? And so we can come back to this. We can come back to home here and now. So one of the really easy ways to remember these three factors of the Noble Eightfold Path is remember, look, change, right? That's it. And then we rinse and repeat. We just keep doing that over and over again. We abandon the unwholesome thoughts. We give rise to the wholesome thoughts. And with that, again, we come back to our body. We stay grounded in the body, coming back to that earth element, just grounded in the body. Here and now, this is enough. Just being aware that we're breathing right now and taking a nice relaxing breath, and just being aware that we're exhaling right now. This is enough. It's just chilling out, and nothing beats chilling out at the end of the day. And if we come back to this place here and now of completion and wholeness, we can then proceed in the world with from a place of this completion and wholeness, so we can better serve, the world, so we can better share the Dhamma, so we can better, just engage with things in that sense, because we don't want anything. So it's going to lead us to be less selfish and able to do more in that regard. But again, it all comes back to dukkha, dukkha nirodha, dissatisfaction and the end of dissatisfaction. That is the guiding compass. That is why we practice this. If it's not for that aim, it's probably not right sati, right mindfulness. And so that's just something to keep in mind. There are benefits from practicing this, I could say, firsthand, but it always needs to be said second, right? It can't be center stage. Dukkha, dukkha nirodha always needs to be center stage, or frequently needs to be center stage. Always is kind of a funny no-no word when we really understand anicca, but it really does need to frequently be center stage, because otherwise it's going to bite us, right? So again, we come back to everything's changing, everything's fading away, everything's decaying, everything's dying. None of it's worth grasping onto in that sort of way. So being able to let go of things in a wise way, to release them, to throw them back to nature, as Bhikkhu Buddhadasa would say, right? So that's it. So I think I've covered a lot of the basics here. Again, it's just come on back to the breath, become aware of the breath, remember your breathing, and direct the mind towards the wholesome and away from the unwholesome, and do that again and again with that remember, look, change. And that's what you're cultivating here, those skills of remember, look, and change. All right, well, congratulations for making it this far, and yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video, and you can just chill out now. Yeah, if you feel like practicing, just find a spot and you can just chill out thinking these wholesome thoughts. One more thing before I go to is I do have an app as well, an online app, so that kind of can give you, it's almost like training wheels for practicing mindfulness with breathing, or inhale, exhale, remembrance, or Anapanasati. So if you want to check that out, that might be a helpful resource for you. But again, it's to not become too reliant on those, to practice a little bit with an app or something like that, and then get into seclusion yourself so you can actually experience joy and satisfaction that's not born of all these worldly things. And oh boy, is it ever worth it. All right. So again, thank you so much for listening. Congratulations. You got this. All right. Peace.